Today, we are going to dive deep into the world of Denver's real estate to answer this burning question. Are those $1 million homes really worth it? Let's find out. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Living in Denver. My name is Marco Randazzo. I'm a realtor with 8Z Real Estate. I live in Arvada, which is a northwest suburb of Denver, Colorado. My wife and I moved here 7 years ago. We love it, and so does our puppy and our two awesome kids. So if you're new to the channel, thank you for joining. I hope you find this video helpful. Let's dive right in. So if you are considering a move to Denver, or if you already live here and you're considering moving within Denver, then you've probably been eyeing those fancy homes with jaw-dropping price tags, right? Yeah, it's expensive to live out here. But hang on, are they actually worth it? Are the price tags justified? What do you get for $1 million in and around Denver? Those are the questions we're gonna answer in this video. So we're gonna dive into the different areas of Denver and the surrounding suburbs and show you what you can get for around $1 million. And as we go, we're gonna talk about the pros and cons, some of the areas, and if it's a good investment or not. And make sure you stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to give you some insightful tips around how to make sure you are clear on all of your financial options, because as you probably know, the jumbo conforming loan limit went up recently and it opened up a lot more doors for people and your budget. So stick around to the end for that. All right, so maybe you are relocating here. Maybe you've bought a home before once or twice, or maybe you already live here and you're considering getting into your next home. Maybe you have a healthy budget and you want to live in the action in the hottest parts of town, like Sloan's Lake, for example. Or maybe you just need more space and you want to get out into the suburbs a little bit where your dollar goes farther. That is what happened to us. As a quick side note, we lived downtown in Cap Hill when we first moved to Denver 7 years ago from Orlando, Florida. We loved it down there, but we wanted to get a house with more space. So we moved out to Arvada and we lived in a 2,000 square foot house for 5 years. It was great. Then we flipped it into an Airbnb after we had our first kid and realized very quickly we really wanted a lot more space. I would say needed, but it's like, you don't really need it, but like, I mean, we did. Kids take up so much room and their stuff takes up it's crazy. And if you heard that, my kids are running around upstairs with all of their stuff that takes up a lot of space. So now I have 2 kids. It's amazing. We moved out here a little bit farther northwest Arvada, closer to Stanley Lake, and we bought our dream house. This is it. So I have this amazing basement, this studio where I work out of. That's our living room back there. You might be able to see some kids' toys on the floor. We have a bar over here. It's a great place to host. We love our house. We just love it. And whenever we want to do stuff in the city, we just drive into town. My office in Rhino, right next to Coors Field, takes about 25 minutes to get there. So it really doesn't feel like we're that far from the city. So we wanted more space. We moved out here. We got our dream home 2 years ago. And at the time, this house was about $900,000. Now, not only was it totally worth it for us, but it's been life-changing in the best ways because we love our house, we love the space for our kids, and we love hosting people. Now, if we were to buy this house today, it would cost over $1 million, but it gives you an idea of what you get in this price range. Now let's get a little more detailed. So we're going to compare living in the city to living out in the suburbs. And then we're going to take an even closer look at all the surrounding areas and what you get for around $1 million. So right now, for example, I have a listing in Sloan's Lake that's on the market for $1.2 million. It's about 8 blocks from the lake. It's half of a duplex, 2,400 square feet, 3 beds, 4 baths, 2-car garage. It was built in 2019, so it's pretty new. That's an example of a newer vertical style home that you can get for just over $1 million in a very hot part of town. Now, out here in northwest Arvada, where I live, pretty close to here, it's about 1.5 miles away, there's a new home on the market for $1.15 million, and it's 3,800 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. It's a ranch with a finished basement built in 1961, but it's fully remodeled. So right there, you can start to see some of the differences in the size of the home, depending on what part of town that you are in. So as I said, we're going to get more detailed. We're going to look at lots of popular areas of Denver and see more options that you would have in this price range. Look at the pros and the cons, the kind of homes, that kind of thing. And then we're going to look at the suburbs and do the same thing. The goal is by the end of this video, you are very, very clear about what kind of home you can get for this price range and where. Let's go. Last thing before we jump in, I've got to give you a warning. I'm going to be cruising through a lot of homes in this video and flipping through photos pretty fast to show you a lot. I've got like 30 homes I'm going to show you. And I tend to go through these photos kind of fast. So thanks in advance for hanging in there if you get dizzy or if things move too fast for you. But I do want to cover a lot in this video, and I really want to give you a comprehensive view of the kind of homes that exist in this price range. Here we go. So for reference, again, this is that $1.2 million Sloan's Lake duplex that I've got. As you can see, it's super nice, super cool, modern, newer. It's got a really cool patio, all that. Again, here is the map of the general Denver area. We just looked at this listing by Sloan's Lake that I've got. It's under contract right now, which is why it's orange. And then out here in Arvada, this is Old Town Arvada, but going out here farther towards Stanley Lake, which is where I live out here, you've got this listing, which I spoke of, listed for 1.15. And we'll go ahead and look at some of these photos. This one is that ranch that is, almost 4,000 square feet, built in 1961, but it's been remodeled. Super nice kitchen. It's a cool house. Like I said, I know I'm going through these photos kind of fast because we got a lot to cover. All right, so now we're going to look at the price point around $1 million in the Denver area, city of Denver, different Denver neighborhoods, and what you get in different parts of town. And this is really where there's some of the biggest differences in single family homes to townhomes to condos. You'll see why. Let's jump right in. So let's start over here. We just looked at Sloan's Lake. Now up here in Berkeley, let's look at this house, which is listed for 1.50,000, so just over $1 million. This is built in 1924. It's 2,000 square feet, single family house, and you can already tell it's an old house, but it's got that cool old charm, right, with the 1920s curves going on in here. Somebody say that's what she said, because I'm not going to. Michael Scott. It's been renovated, right? It's a cute little house, but this is like about what you get for $1 million in this part of town, a smaller, older home, somewhat remodeled. All right, now let's go over here right into Highland. All right, so this is my friend Lauren's listing. This listing is amazing. It's 2,400 square feet. It is a duplex, so it's half of an attached home, but it feels very much like a single family. To get to the other side, you go around here, and when you're in the house, it feels like a single family house. It's got a fenced in front yard, super cute living room. Almost it kind of feels like a townhome because of the one shared wall, but that's how a lot of these homes are in Sloan's Lake and Highlands, downtown Denver. These newer homes that are built, a lot of them are built like side by side, paired homes, attached homes. They're called townhomes sometimes, but really they're duplexes. But a lot of them feel like single family homes. And this one is super nice, super modern. It's got a third level up here with a walkout basement or a walkout patio. Feels like a rooftop patio. And this one also has I'll just flip through to get to the basement because it has a fully finished basement with like a couple of rooms down there and a bathroom, great for guests. So that's a really cool listing if you're just like close to the 1.1 price range and you want to be in Highland. So like, look at where this house is. Boom. You're like walkable to everything in the Highlands. Okay. All right. Let's go back over here. So we're going to go closer to downtown, like proper downtown. So as you can see, there's where Union Station is. Okay. This is really close to, this is Coors Field. Union Station's over here and my office is over here. So if you want to be like right in it, it's going to be a condo probably. So 955. So just under $1 million for this condo. It's 1,600 square feet. And let's see. So this is down here in Lodo, and there's a ton of these loft buildings. They're pretty cool. They're trendy. You can kind of see this is virtual staging, but you kind of get the idea of how you could use this space. So if you want to be in this location and your budget is around $1 million, you can get some pretty cool condos in the area. And then you can just pop right down, walk to Union Station, walk to Coors Field, walk to everything that's down there. All right, if you want to be further into Rhino or into the Five Points district, let's look at what you can get for a single family house. So this is, again, 1884, a lot of older homes, 2,200 square feet, 3 beds, 3 baths. It's listed just under $1 million at 985. Small, older, charming, looks pretty clean. You got cool wood floors, you got a lot of windows. You can already tell like the ceilings are going to feel lower in here. So it's a very different feel from like the open, 9-foot ceiling, 10-foot ceilings, like newer style of homes. So these are typically smaller spaces, less bedrooms. You know, these homes come with their own challenges. Like you got to make sure there's not the original sewer line in there, and that the electrical is not all outdated, and there's not a federal electric panel on there, and the roof's not like a bajillion years old. Like things like that. Inspection usually is a bit more of a biatch on homes like this. Even if they've been updated and remodeled, there's just usually more things that come up. So you want to make sure you know what you're getting into around an older home if you want a single family home in one of these popular parts of town. Similar down here in Cap Hill, Cheeseman Park, 1911, older single family home for $975,000. And let's contrast that with going way out here to Central Park. Okay. So this is a home built in 2012, $950,000, 3,400 square feet, single family home, but it's 12 years old, right? So you can see higher ceilings, modern floor plan, open layout. This home doesn't have like the nicest of finishes necessarily. But you know, it is what it is for Central Park. That's a nice part of town. It's a newer planned community. So things feel a little more stale, for lack of a better term. It's not my vibe, to be honest. And I have a lot of clients that are like, I don't want that. I want the charm. It's like, great. There's lots of cool, old, historic parts of Denver where you can get that charm. Out here, if you want more of the, more of the Desperate Housewives feel. I mean, a lot of people love it. I've sold a couple homes out there for families that they love the area, they love the schools, they love the walkability, they love the community, and that's what they want. So at Central Park for around $1 million, you can get a pretty decent house. Down here in South Denver, Virginia Village, you can get, let's see, this one's a tri-level, so smaller home for $960,000. This area down here closer to DU, like things are also still pretty expensive. Your dollar doesn't go like super far, but a lot of people want to live down here, especially if you like work in Denver, but you want to be like just outside of the city. And then down here, this is like almost Littleton, almost Englewood. There are other duplexes side by side where you can get brand new. So 2023, this one was just built, 1.1 million, 2,800 square feet. Check these out. Super modern, sharp, almost farmhouse looking. And I love how a lot of these newer builders are going towards like these like floating stairs with some sort of glass wall or barred wall. A lot of these have glass offices. I live in a house with a glass office. If you've seen any of my videos, I love it. It's super fun. It's a nice kitchen, nice floors, sharper finishes on this one. You know, so even in that part of town, you can get a small half duplex for just like around 1.1 million. So now we're going to look at like a lot of these suburbs around the Denver area and sort of do like a circle starting out here in Aurora. And we're going to go all the way around and look at the kind of homes you get for around this $1 million price range. And I'll just give you a hint. You get a lot more bang for your buck. Not in every area, depending on where you are. All right, so down here in Aurora, this is like where you probably get the most bang for your buck, where some of the biggest homes are going to be. Also similar up here into like Northeast Denver. Generally speaking, so here's the airport, right? As you get closer to the mountains, which this is the Front Range right here, basically Highway 470 runs right along the edge of the Front Range, and then the mountains sort of start up on the west, right next to that highway. Things get more expensive as you get out west towards here. So Littleton, west part of Lakewood, Golden, Northwest Arvada, and certainly everything in Boulder County. We're not even talk too much about like Louisville, Lafayette, and Erie, but like Boulder County stuff gets wicked expensive really fast. It's probably where your dollar goes the least in all of the like around Denver areas, but Boulder is super cool and super fun. So again, if you live on the west side or northwest side of town, it's easy to pop up again to Boulder. My house right here south of Stanley Lake takes me 20 minutes to get into Boulder, and we love it. It's great. All right, so down here in Aurora, let's look at two examples. Down here in Talon's Ranch, this is where you can get like a really big house. Okay, so 4,000 square feet, 1.1 million, just under that. Let's see, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. You got a partially finished basement, partially not. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. So this house built in 2012, so relatively new, on a decent plot of land. You got a 3-car garage, and you can see you got an open floor plan. Again, not like the super fanciest of finishes, but it's a modern house. It's a nice open floor plan. And for this price range, you can already see like how you get just way more space than a lot of these areas in Denver. And with just newer homes in general, the build quality is going to be a lot different. All right, let's look at the next one. Now, this one is a little bit farther into Aurora, but like not much. All this is like, you can see where we are from the airport down here farther south into Aurora. southeast of Denver. Okay, so that's giving you the lay of the land. Aurora is huge. It's one of the biggest Denver suburbs. There's just like so many different suburbs, a lot of different houses. Average price point is something like 600 out there. So there's a lot of homes you can get for lower price range that are older and need a lot of work. Let's look at this one again. So this one's listed for 1.025, so just over a million. 5,500 square feet. Look at that. This house is massive. And the basement is fully finished. So it's a 2-story with a fully finished basement. Again, like right off the bat, it's like, yeah, it's a bit more of like the 90s, early 2000s style. But with the right person who's willing to update this and modernize this, you just look at the space that you get. Super tall ceilings, a lot of windows, an office. I think it had 5 bedrooms. This primary suite is enormous, right? Walkout basement, a little bit of an older kitchen, but really cool house. And for the price, it's like if you need a huge house and you don't have a budget of 1.5 million, this is one of the best places to go and get it. So now we're going to sweep a little farther south and then go up the Front Range farther north. So we're going to look at a house in Centennial, house in Littleton, a couple in Morrison, and one in Lakewood. So down here in Centennial, you start to get more bang for your buck. This house was built in 73, but it's remodeled, 1.1 million, 3,600 square feet. Looks like a ranch. And let's take a look at this house. So really nice, remodeled, updated. I've seen a lot of these houses in like the Littleton, Centennial areas where you have these exposed beams, and it feels really classy, super cool. Some people don't like that, but if you're into it, this seems to be a pretty popular style. Flip through some of the pictures, you kind of get the idea. Centennial, not as big of a Denver metro suburb. It's kind of right there in between Denver and Aurora and Littleton and Englewood. All right, let's swing over here to Littleton. Littleton is very expensive. Down here south of Littleton, you've got the Chatfield Reservoir, which is like, other than Stanley Lake, it's like one of the only big bodies of water, other than the Cherry Creek Reservoir and the Aurora Reservoir. Hard to say words. There's a dog park out here that's amazing. There's like beaches. You can like post up on the beach, and in the summer, this area is slammed. People really enjoy the summers out here versus the winter right now where it's like snowing, like a foot of snow outside. So we'll look at Littleton at a couple of examples. Let's go down here. This is a new build community, Sterling Ranch. I sold a house here a couple years ago. My clients love it. You can get a really nice house for 1.1, 4,800 square feet. This house is 2 years old, so pretty new, and they're still building houses out here. And there's a big community across the street they're working on. So you can see modern design, open floor plan, pretty cool finishes. Nice house, pretty nice big house for this price range. Now let's look at one other home that's pre-existing, or resale home, pre-existing. Resale home here. This was on the market for 1.2. You can already see like they overpriced it. It's dropped in price. But this house was built in 1971. It's almost 3,800 square feet. Looks like it's on a lot of land. Let's see, how much is this? 0.4 acres. So decent plot of land. And there's a lot of old homes out here in Littleton. Some of them are updated, some of them are not. But like in this case, you can see it's not like a super updated house. Do you see that piano? Every time I see a house with a piano, I want to go tour it and play it. So lower ceilings, older house. Some of it feels 70s. But this one's closer to downtown Littleton. So you get kind of that historic charm feel. All right, so now let's swing up into Lakewood. Again, Lakewood is a really big suburb of Denver. Parts of East Lakewood start to bleed into like parts of Southwest Denver, and parts of West Lakewood start to bleed into Golden and feel like you're out in the mountains or you're just about to get into the mountains. So this, I picked one. It's kind of right down the middle. This house is listed for $964,000, 1982, 3,500 square feet. I picked this one specifically because this is an example of a bad investment. This house is going to need a couple $100,000 of work. And yeah, it's going to be cool, but like it's still a tri-level, and those typically don't sell as much as single family or as ranches or 2-story homes. So tri-levels and bi-levels, I've got plenty of clients who like those. That's great. But at these higher price points, it just doesn't make any sense, which is why I'm guessing this is not selling. It was listed back in October. Yeah, no one's going to buy this at this price point. But you get lower into the 8s or maybe 7s. I don't know specifically. I haven't dived into this in too much detail, but you need to get this at a much lower price in order to make this style of home worth it for a flip, basically. That's what this house is right for, an investor. So again, that's an example of a bad investment for $1 million. Now let's look at what I think are some good ones. Out here in Morrison, this is a new build community. It's pretty small, but it's just west of Red Rocks. So like I think even the photos have like photos of Red Rocks Amphitheater, but this is a brand new community. As you can see in the photos, they're advertising like Red Rocks because they're like right out there, pretty close to downtown Morrison and close to Red Rocks, right? This is Lennar. They're not actually that nice of a builder, but I just think the area is a good investment. Now let's look at this one. This is an example of a resale home, still newer, 2021. So this and Solterra, I would say this is like a much better investment if you're going to be on this side of town. 4,000 square feet, just a couple years old, listed for just over $1 million. And let's take a look at this one. So you've got mountain views. You're going to be like off the highway. So as I look at this, ooh, yikes. Yeah. So this part of the neighborhood, I take it back. This house is not a good investment. This specific one. This neighborhood is just because of the location and proximity to the mountains. But like right here, as you can see, it's right off of 470. That's what that highway is. We talked about this highway that goes up against the mountains. That's what this is. I can already tell you the street noise from this is going to be wicked loud. So sorry to these sellers, but I mean, the house is dope, right? Super nice, great part of town. You've got to be okay with the street noise. And it's listed as Lakewood. It's really, really close to Morrison. So that's that house right there. So now we're going to sweep up into the west and northwest parts of the Denver area, starting out here in Golden. So this is an example of like what you'd think of a typical mountain house. Okay, so check this out. This is what people think of when they think of moving to Colorado. They think like a house tucked into the mountains, but like just easy access to the city. Yeah, you can get that. This house is nothing special. Okay, so this is like for $1 million. I mean, 3,000 square feet. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, smaller house built in the 80s. I don't think this one's remodeled. It is kind of remodeled, but it's like these houses are smaller. They feel a little bit older. There's nothing like super amazing about them except for the location. So again, we're going to go back to this photo. It's if you want to live out here and feel like you're tucked into the mountains, a house like this, sure, that's great. Because look in the map view, you're out here literally as the mountains start to roll and get from the foothills into the actual mountains, and it feels, more like that Colorado vibe that a lot of people are going for. Let's get up into Golden and look at 2 more examples. So this is a new build community that is right out here in the north part of Golden. I think that this area is going to go up in value a ton, mostly because everything else that's been new over the last like 5-6 years. So some of my good friends live in this neighborhood. Okay. And here's a home that's on the market for $882,000, which is like pretty low for the North Table Mountain area. But it's 2002, so it's not like quite as new. Let's see. Let's just take a look at this house. Why is this price so low? 3-car garage. Because it's ugly. Yeah, that's why. So the layout is like super old. Most people who are shopping with this kind of budget want something newer and nicer. Yeah, that's why. So kind of boring, but that's like the north part of this neighborhood. But everything else that's like down here is like newer and built from like, I think 2014, 15 and on, something like that. And by the way, just like to get your bearings, this is North Table Mountain. So like in this neighborhood, you're just like staring at the mountains to the west and then to the south up at North Table Mountain, which makes it feel like you're living in the mountains. And then this is South Table Mountain over here, really great place to go and hike. North Table Mountain is also a great place to go and hike. And then Course Factory runs like right in between these. If you've ever driven on Highway 58, this is a beautiful drive. And then down here, you get into downtown Golden, where things are really expensive and $1 million doesn't really get you much at all, which is why nothing really even came up in my search. This is not every home for sale for $1 million. I just picked a few in each of the suburbs to kind of give examples. So now let's swing over back into Wheat Ridge. So Wheat Ridge is sort of like right in between Lakewood and Arvada, just west of Denver, up and coming, super popular, good bang for your buck. And I think one of the best investments, especially because you can apply to get your short-term rental license and rent out an entire house in Wheat Ridge, depending on which zone. There's like 4 zones of Wheat Ridge. So the short-term rental license game is a little bit different here, but you at least have the option that you might be able to do it. Whereas in Denver, you can't do that at all unless you live there and it's your primary residence. So let's click on this house for $880 and check it out. Older house, 1960, 2,300 square feet. It's not as big. These are such bad photos. I'm always shocked at how bad real estate photos can be. Smaller house, a little bit older, but great location. You You can already see like that layout is a split level. Those typically aren't as popular. So even something like this needs a lot of remodeling. I kind of think the best investments in this area are the homes that are even lower than this, but that's not what this video is about. All right, let's get up here into Arvada and look at a couple of examples. All right, so close to Old Town, the houses are older, they're smaller. You don't get as much bang for your buck in terms of the house, but the location is great. So this one, you can walk to everything in Old Town, listed for $995, just under a million. Look at this, it's 1,000 square feet. Tiny ass house. Not that special. Look at this photo. Oh, this kills me. This person hired a realtor. Is like, will you, I want to pay you next to nothing. And they're like, great. And then they didn't take pro photos, didn't even bother to turn the lights on. That's hilarious. All right. Great. So again, let's look at this location. Really close to Old Town Arvada. Yes, this is the Old Town area. You're down here. Oh, it's walkable-ish. That's not a good investment. But it's like, there's some homes out here in around Old Town. Over here, I sold a house on Field Street a while ago, like just in this neighborhood that are like, maybe a 10, 15-minute walk, but it's a nicer neighborhood, bigger lots. This area is a great investment and it is expensive. All right, getting up here farther up into Arvada, Scenic Heights. So this park is Majestic View Park. It's one of our favorite parks. It's just south of the Club Crest neighborhood. Give you some more context of where we are. Okay. This is where my Airbnb is. This is where Lizzie and I lived for 5 years before we moved out here just a few miles west and north towards Stanley Lake to get our dream house. This is a house for $995. This is not a single family house. It's a townhome, but it's on the end and it's brand new. I talked to the agent yesterday on this one and I think they got a contract, so it'll probably be under contract soon. But this house is amazing. Okay. And it's just off of Carr. It's just east of Majestic View Park. Look at that bathroom. Jeez. Super cool. Huge closet, amazing primary suite. It looks like a single family house. You would never know this is a townhome, right? But it's attached. It might be attached to one or two or three other homes. I forget. So again, if you go to an attached home, you get a lot more bang for your buck, even out here in Arvada. Now let's go out here. We looked at a single family house at the beginning of this. But let's look at one more. So Five Parks, my in-laws live in Five Parks. We love that they live here because there's like a little downtown area. And there's like a couple of restaurants. There's a pool. Oh, it's great. So let's look at this. A lot of these they're not old. They're like 2000s. So 2003, single family house, 4,000 square feet, 900. This one just went on the market. Let's take a look at this house. All right. So not that cool, actually. All right, I've seen a lot of nicer homes for this price range in here. So we'll see how this one does with the market. That's the interesting thing about the real estate market. It always responds and tells you if a house goes under contract fast, it was worth it. If it doesn't, it's not. But in general, like this location, Five Parks is it's awesome. Okay, you're close to the mountains, close to Denver. I love it out here because I'm pretty close to here, just a couple miles east. But this whole area on the south side is going to be really close to the downtown area. Walk right over. And then if you're on the north side, you got to cross 86th. And then this whole area up here is also Five Parks. And if you're on one of these lots, you have this view over this hill, which looks over Whisper Creek and then out to the mountains. It's beautiful. So that's kind of a look at Arvada. Now let's get up in here into Westminster. All right. So there's a lot of different areas of Westminster. The lot lines or the city lines are kind of wild. But let's look at one example of what you get for $1 million in Westminster. 3-car garage, 1.07 almost, 5,500 square feet. The whole basement is finished. So you can get my point is for almost 1.1, you can get a big house in Westminster. Let's take a look at this one. A little bit older, right? But huge driveway. There's that piano. Love it. How long has this one been on the market? A couple weeks. Maybe they'll let me do an open house and I'll go make a piano music video for them to promote this thing and get this thing sold for them. So stuff like this, older stairs, not really modern design, but this can be modernized for not too expensive, like new flooring, new rails. That stuff is not super expensive and it'll really change the whole look of this place. So again, a cool office, cool fireplace. You get the idea for what you can get for just over $1 million in Westminster. Your dollar here goes really far. All right, so now we're going to sweep up to the north part of Denver and a little bit east, and that'll do it for our look at homes today. So Broomfield, really close to Arvada, just on the north side. The Broomfield Library is right up here. This is where we go all the time. We got a lot of friends who live up in this area. So let's look at what you get for this one's it's actually a little less. So 850. And I pulled this up to kind of show you what kind of home you can get. This one's built in the 90s, 4,000 square feet. Broomfield is very popular. There's a lot of homes just like under $1 million that are still really nice, big lots, a little bit older. This is, you can tell it's virtual staging, but a good layout, good bang for your buck, good location between Denver and Boulder. So that's why a lot of people choose to live here. They love the parks, they love the libraries, they love the schools, very family friendly, things like that. All right, now there's for $1 million, there's nothing for sale in Federal Heights, nothing in North Glen. All those are lower price ranges. Thornton's big, kind of like goes up here. I don't really like Thornton personally. There's just kind of boring in my opinion. I have a couple clients choose to move there for like jobs or schools. Like that's fine. I just don't think it has as much to offer as other suburbs of Metro Denver. All right, so let's look out here. This one is technically Thornton. Here's what you can get though. Here's the thing. For a brand new house, this is just built, 5,300 square feet for $1 million. So you get bang for your buck in Thornton. Okay, now this is like northeast Thornton. It's almost Brighton, but you kind of see what you can get. Like pretty big house for $1 million. So if you're looking for like the size of the house and you don't need to be in a specific part of town, Thornton might be a good option. Henderson, Commerce City, sometimes these are interchangeable. Oh, this one's also technically Thornton. So I'll show you this one as well. Again, 5,000 square feet, $1 million, big house. Not super new, not super fancy, not an amazing location, but a lot of space. So if you have a big family or if you have multi-generational living, like areas like this where you get more bang for your buck, I've had people go to areas like this that want to be proximity to Denver and get space without going like too far over $1 million. So areas like this, some parts of Westminster, definitely Aurora hit more of those buckets. If you want more of the modern hit parts of town, you're looking more at like a condo or a duplex in like Denver or just outside of Denver areas. Not outside of Denver, but like outside of downtown Denver, Highlands, Sloan's Lake, Lodell, things like that. And then in between, we just mentioned all the other suburbs and we saw like all of what you get for around this price point. So now you should have a good idea about the kind of homes that you get in and around Denver for just under or just over $1 million. All right, that was a lot. I get it, but I hope it wasn't overwhelming. Ultimately, I hope it was really helpful as we took a look at all the different kinds of homes you can get in and around Denver for around the price range of $1 million. So right now, if there's any questions coming up for you about anything we just covered, feel free to write them straight into the comments. I will respond to them. If you prefer to send me a private message, my email is linked in the notes and you can send me any of your questions about the kinds of homes, the areas, relocating to Denver or moving within Denver, and I'm happy to help. Now let's talk about money for a minute. So if you're a cash buyer, great. You're going to have an advantage, but it's not really a sure thing, even if you're in a competitive situation, because about 1 in every 5 offers out there in Denver are a cash buyer. So it's either a buyer with actual cash, or it's an investor also working with cash, or it's a buyer who's getting a loan, but they're working with a lender who has a cash buyer program. Those kinds of programs exist so that people can have the power of a cash offer to make themselves more competitive and then close a loan and finish everything up that way. So this is something a lot of my clients have taken advantage of, and it's a game changer. So if you want to know more about how that works, make sure to check out this other video linked somewhere around the screen about how to become a cash buyer, and that explains how that process works in more detail. So let's say you are planning to get a loan. Okay, so the conforming loan limit went up recently to $766,000, which means if you plan to put down 20%, you can still get a conforming loan on a house for almost $960,000. And that is a big deal. This opens up a lot of options for people because back in 2022, the conforming loan limit was $650,000, which meant if you wanted that same house for $960,000, instead of putting down 20%, you would have to put down 33%. That's an additional $125,000. Again, that's a big deal. Now, there are alternative loan options out there, non-conforming loan products like an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage, things like that. Sometimes it might make more sense for someone to get into a product like this. And with some of those, you have the option to put down a lower down payment. Okay, so I recently, for example, had a client who had a budget of $900,000, but they only wanted to put down 10%. So we worked with a great local lender. We found a loan product that worked for them. They found their dream house. They put 10% down and they got it. So here's the deal. There's a lot of moving parts around this. In order for you to have full clarity about how all of this is going to work with the finances, you've got to understand your options. Ultimately, you need to have a local agent and a local lender in your corner to partner with you. So this way, when the right house comes along for you and your family, you're going to be very, very clear on all your options. You're going to have control of the decisions, and you're going to be confident that you're making the right move. So if you want to know more about your options, you can shoot me an email and we'll set up a buyer consultation. We can do it over a Zoom call right here, just like this. Or if you're in town, we can meet in my office, which is next to Coors Field. I'm happy to help you get the lay of the land for your next move. So as we wrap up, there's something for everyone here in Denver, whether you're all about that city hustle or if you're craving a more laid back lifestyle with more bang for your buck. You can find your dream home around the $1 million price tag. But is it worth it? Well, we covered a lot of the pros and cons and details when we looked at all the homes, but ultimately it really depends because some of these homes are going to be listed at great deals and some of them are going to be overpriced. So to make sure you have a professional in your corner that you trust to guide you through the process, that's going to be the game changer to help you make sure you do not make a bad investment. So that is a wrap on Denver's $1 million homes. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more. I hope you found this video helpful. Peace.